I will now allow an opportunity for the rendering of the national anthem by Ms. Sipokazi Maltino. Let us pray. Almighty God, where you have called us to govern this province, we ask your help to make decisions and laws that will be just and will promote the interests of the people. Almagtige God, ons bid dat u gedurende ons vergaderings ons die nodige wysheid sal gee en ons motiewe suiwer sal hou en dat u ons sal help om ons tekortkominge te oorkom en al ons besluite aan u op te dra. Sikelela leswi letu na bantu balo, umisili ukulungu kwipondo letu. Kosi sikalela i Afrika, ringa bantwana bayo, kokelo inkokeli zayo, iniki ukolo i Afrika. All this we beg in your holy name. Amen. Before we start with our proceedings, members, I would like to request that you remain standing and observe a moment of silence at the passing of the former Premier of the Western Cape, Mr. Gerald Morkel. You may be seated. Order. I have to announce that in terms of Rule 14 of the Standing Rules today, the 22nd of February 2018 at 14:15 has been determined as the date and time for the Premier's State of the Province address. This sitting is meant specifically for the purpose of affording the Premier an opportunity to deliver the State of the Province address. On this occasion, no business other than the address by the Premier is entertained. I also wish to remind members that the debate on the address will take place on Friday, the 23rd, where members will have an opportunity to fully engage and debate the Premier's address. On Monday, the 26th of February 2018, the Premier will reply to the debate. I also want to take this opportunity to welcome our esteemed distinguished guests to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. Your presence is appreciated and valued. However, I must draw your attention to the fact that you are not allowed to participate in the proceedings of the House. I now afford the Honourable the Premier the opportunity to address the House. Premier.
Fellow citizens of the Western Cape, Honourable Speaker, Honourable members of the Provincial Cabinet, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Honourable leaders of political parties, members of the National Assembly and National Council of Provinces, Honourable members of the Provincial Legislature, Director General of the Western Cape, heads of provincial departments, leaders of local government, religious leaders, community leaders, colleagues and friends. Speaker, this is my 11th State of the Province address, launching the Provincial Legislature's annual calendar.
Order, please. Honourable Yankee.
Would the Premier be so kind to allow us just a little moment of silence for the fallen policemen this morning? Would you be so kind in your time to just allow us to do that?
Honourable Speaker, obviously that request must be directed to you, but I just want to say that I have no problem with it.
If we could, you've asked the Premier, it should have been directed to the Speaker, but we can do it now, or we could do it tomorrow as part of our proceedings. But I'm going to ask everyone in the audience to observe a few moments of silence for the slain policemen in the Eastern Cape. If that is what you are referring to, Honourable Yankee, we will observe a moment's silence. Could we stand, please? You may be seated. Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Yankee. Premier, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is my 11th State of the Province address, launching the Provincial Legislature's annual calendar. It is the penultimate one before the end of this administration's second term. Since 2009, we have been building the capable state in the Western Cape on the pillars of the rule of law and accountability. Now, in our 9th year in office, these fundamentals of a functional democracy are more crucial than ever. One of the indicators of this is the audit record of this province. This week, the Auditor General, Mr. Kimi Makwetu, personally attended the award ceremony to congratulate the Western Cape on the country's best audit outcome. 85% clean audits for provincial departments.
Order, please.
85% clean audits for provincial departments compared to the next province, Gauteng, with 52%. Overall,
order, please.
Overall, financially unqualified audits were awarded to all our departments. May I specifically acknowledge Minister Ivan Meyer, the Provincial Treasury, and the senior staff of departments for this exceptional result. We inherited a government from the party that is now in the honourable opposition that had no clean audits at all. Now some of our departments are on their way to double figures in their number of consecutive unqualified audits. And this year we ensured that 11 out of 11 provincial public entities received clean audits. A full house.
Members, sorry, Premier, if I may, interjections are allowed, but I'm not going to allow a running commentary. Rule 41, it is my duty to maintain the dignity and decorum of this House. Let's afford the Premier to continue with the presentation. You may proceed, Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And we are still top of the Presidency's Performance Management Assessment tool, known as the MPAT. A famous rugby coach, Gary Gold, was asked to describe his main ingredient for success. He answered, "It is having the best players." Speaker, it is as simple and as complex as that. I want to thank all my cabinet colleagues, the strongest executive team in the country, backed by the ablest professional support under the leadership of the Director General, Brent Gerba. And I also acknowledge the path-breaking work of the Delivery Support Unit under the leadership of Ms. Jenny Cargill in delivering on our game-changer projects, which have taken great strides in a short period of time. In my own office, the team, led by the Chief of Staff, Lorika Elliott, have sustained an unrivaled level of excellence, often in very difficult circumstances. Speaker, you will know that I normally thank my colleagues at the end. This time, I do so at the start, so that everyone listening to or reading the speech later knows who should take credit for what we have achieved. It is a pleasure working for you all, and also to feel part of Team South Africa again. President Ramaphosa's State of the Nation speech recognized South Africans and all South Africans as full citizens whose contributions are valued. We appreciate that. It also makes a big difference to the national mood. Speaker, the immense challenge of the province's longest drought on record will test our capabilities to their limits at all levels of government. While managing a provincial state of disaster declared in May 2017, we also had to continue delivering on our core constitutional mandates. This is not a normal drought. Hydrologists who are analysing rainfall records as far back as they go have calculated that a severe 3-year drought in the Western Cape is a once-in-400-year event. Rare disasters such as this are the reason governments have transversal disaster management functions. In an officially declared disaster, each sphere of government contributes to the solution according to its constitutional mandate. In this case, the national government is responsible.
Order, please. Order.
The national government, Speaker, is responsible for bulk water supply in the Constitution and the law. Local government is responsible for cleaning and reticulating water, as well as demand management. Provincial government is the disaster management authority with oversight, monitoring, and support functions over municipalities. Although bulk water is its mandate, the National Department of Water and Sanitation, which I will hereafter refer to as the DWS, has not made funding available for augmentation in this crisis because the National Treasury has literally turned off their funding tap following a disastrous audit outcome. As a result, the City of Cape Town has stepped into the breach with aquifer extraction, water reuse and desalination projects to the tune of some 5.9 billion rand over the 5-year medium-term revenue expenditure framework.
Order, please.
No local government should have to shoulder the burden of capital and operational costs for what is a national function. I note that in yesterday's budget speech,
Honourable, thank you.
I note that in yesterday's budget, Speaker, 6 billion rand was set aside for both drought relief and infrastructure for the 5 provinces hit by the current drought. Although 6 billion is a lot of money, divided between 5 provinces, it will hardly touch sides if it is intended both for relief and for new infrastructure. The city's infrastructure build program on its own amounts to almost 6 billion rand.
Premier, would you care to take your seat, please? Honourable members, let me remind you that today is the Premier's State of the Province address. As I alluded to in my opening remarks, Tomorrow is an opportunity to debate. I would urge you to compose yourself and let's manage ourselves with dignity and decorum. Interjections are allowed, but howling is not going to be tolerated. No howling, Honourable Magaki. You're the party leader. I expect you to set the tone. Thank you. So let's manage ourselves. We may proceed. Colleagues, you have a debate tomorrow. You can bring everything to the debate tomorrow. Please afford the Premier the opportunity to render a speech. Thank you. Members, those are not points of order, and I'm not going to tolerate that. So I'm cautioning you now that I'm not entertaining spurious, vexatious comments that are not points of order. You may proceed, Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Gillian. Honourable Gillian, please, if you can all manage yourselves, members. Minister Bredal, asseblief bedaar. Order, please, members. Order, please. Premier, kindly take your seat, please. Chief of Wali.
Deputy Speaker, we've been very tolerant this side of the House. There's only one order of business today, and that is for the Premier to address the House. She's entitled to put her point of view so that the people of this province and her guests can hear what is being said. And I would refer you to the Rule 39 of the House. A member may not interrupt another member who is speaking. And I would ask that you apply that rule, please.
Thank you, Chief of Wali. Your point is sustained. Members, we have Rule 39 and Rule 41, and very soon I will proceed to Rule 44 if we don't manage ourselves. You may proceed, Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The provincial government, operating on a very constrained budget, has diverted over 369 million rand from our core functions to supplement disaster funding since 2015-16. The funds have gone to supporting municipalities with water supply projects and to helping smallholder farmers survive this crippling drought. A contribution of 40 million rand has been received from the National Disaster Management Centre for livestock feed assistance to smallholders. We have committed 100% of these funds, and the money is being paid out in line with proper processes. The City of Cape Town is projecting the dams servicing the metro and surrounding municipalities will reach an average level of 13.5% by midwinter, based on the current demand on the dams. This would be the lowest storage level ever recorded, and the potential trigger for day zero, which is the word we use to describe level 7 restrictions, when the city turns off the taps in residential areas to conserve the remaining water supply. That is when most people will have to queue for water instead of sourcing it from the tap in their homes. Business districts, informal settlements, and public health facilities will remain connected to supply. During this phase, the city intends to offer a lifeline supply of water to residents through water collection points across the metro. These will be supplemented by the private sector that is making plans to ensure a range of complementary supply points across the city. It goes without saying, Speaker, that we must do everything possible to avoid reaching this point. We can do so if every resident uses less than 50 litres of water per person per day. I want to congratulate the committed Cape Townians who have worked so hard to reduce their water consumption. Your efforts have been pivotal in pushing back day zero to July the 9th. But we cannot let up now.
Honourable Chacham.
If we become complacent, the date will inevitably creep forward again. We are also grateful to the Groenland Water Users Association, a group of Overberg farmers who have generously donated 10 billion litres of water to the residents of Cape Town from a dam they built themselves to prevent water running into the sea. If sufficient rains do not come this winter, an even more difficult summer lies ahead. We need enough water to see us through next summer and into the winter of 2019. We cannot take that for granted, and we cannot rely on rainfall alone. Saving water even during winter and harvesting the rain that falls remain of crucial importance. We must change our water culture permanently. Great potential exists for households and businesses to become water smart, and for a successful water economy to emerge out of this crisis, just as the energy economy emerged from the crisis of load shedding a few years ago. We are trying to secure as many jobs as possible by supporting businesses to reduce water usage, maintain productivity, and increase the water resilience of their operations in the medium term. We are also working to ensure that, in the event of day zero, frontline service points remain open. This involves a major procurement and logistics operation to secure water supply, which includes the drilling of boreholes, water collection and storage systems, water treatment works, and reticulation networks. It also involves us making a distinction between potable water and water for other uses, a distinction that will become increasingly important as we seek to ensure water security into the future. The provincial government is playing its part in the water-saving effort, Speaker, with an estimated 90,000 litres saved each day in key government office facilities. Overall, we have reduced our water consumption since 2016 levels by 46%. The province has also diligently overseen municipal spending of over 680 million rand in grant funding for bulk water supply projects since 2009, ensuring that all municipal infrastructure grants were fully spent. Provincial engineers and geohydrologists are working with municipalities on groundwater operations in all districts. In Beaufort West, the province has completed the equipping of 3 additional boreholes, with 29 others fully functional. The Gift of the Givers donated a further 5 boreholes, drilling deeper into the aquifer to increase the yield. The Department of Rural Development is making a 21 million rand contribution to equipping 5 boreholes, and the Department of Science and Technology has donated a further 2. Our groundwater and maintenance projects are also on track in other municipalities at risk, such as Knysna, Kannaland, Bitu, Matsikama, Langeberg, and Theewaterskloof. But our biggest concern remains the Cape Metro and neighbouring municipalities in the Winelands and West Coast regions. We have diverted 82.5 million rand for water security measures in the Saldanha Bay, Drakenstein, and Swartland municipalities, which all rely on the same water supply as the Metro. This is a top priority for Minister Bredell, who has been a steady hand over several disasters, together with Mr. Colin Diner, who I see in the gallery, that we have had to manage over the past year. May I also acknowledge Minister Bredell's dedicated work in supporting 71% of our local governments to achieve clean audits, by far the highest percentage in the country. The city has also done admirable work reducing water leaks to global standards and managing demand down to levels lower than the late 1990s, even as Cape Town's population has grown by 1 million residents. From dams that were overflowing in 2014, we had 3 consecutive below-average rainfall seasons, despite the South African Weather Service's predictions of above-average rainfall in 2016 and especially in 2017. Day zero would have arrived much earlier had restrictions not been imposed and if Cape Town residents had not put in a major water-saving effort.
Members, order please.
Many have voiced the opinion that we shouldn't be in this situation and that new supply should have been in place. They are right. The Department of Water and Sanitation's reconciliation strategy scenario planning for new water in the Western Cape included a major supply intervention which the department was meant to implement before the forecasted supply pressures. This is known as the Berg River Full Flow Augmentation Scheme, to pump water out of the Berg River in winter and send it via a pipeline to Cape Town for storage. The DWS had originally intended for this project to be completed in time for the winter rains of 2018, according to the department's official record of implementation decision dated December 2012. This would have meant an additional supply of 230 billion litres of water per year for Greater Cape Town Supply Scheme going into next summer. It would have given us far greater water security. Now, the Recon Strategy status update in 2016 found that there has been a 2-year delay in DWS appointing consultants to undertake the environmental impact assessment. The Minister has committed the department to fast-tracking this project to be ready before the winter of 2019, and we hope she will do this. But even if the department does deliver, it will be too late to help us through our current crisis. This delay has cost us dearly, Speaker. The city has had to step in with aquifer drilling that will cost 260 million in the 2017-18 financial year alone, on what is constitutionally a national mandate. The National Department has provided equipment and technical support for drilling operations, for which we are grateful. I must stress it would be a mistake to think that we will be out of the woods if we manage to avoid day zero this year. If rainfall is low this winter, we will have to face the summer of 2018-19 in an even worse position.
Premier, can you take your seat, please? I'm really sorry. Members, if you wish to pose a question to the Premier, direct it to the Chair. You simply cannot interject and just ask the Premier questions while she's busy with the presentation. There is an opportunity to, via the Chair, ask the Premier, will you take a question, please? You are allowed that, but please do not continue in the way you are carrying on right now. Thank you. You may proceed, Honourable Premier.
The city is ramping up augmentation from about 120 million litres per day by July 2018, mainly from aquifers, to about 300 million litres per day by September 2020, including reuse and desalination. Honourable Speaker, there are 2 dams of critical importance to agriculture that have been top priority in our engagements with DWS. The first of these, the Bruntflay Dam, is a quick win for the sector and for the economy. By expanding the capacity of the feeder canal to the Bruntflay Dam at a minimal cost of 15 million rand, an additional 4,400 hectares can be irrigated, with the potential of creating upward of 8,000 new rural jobs. A number of studies were completed by our Provincial Agriculture Department as part of our formal submission to DWS on this project. Minister Mokonyane recently gave us a firm commitment to expedite all necessary approvals for Bruntflay. The agricultural sector has already indicated its willingness to provide funding support for this project should DWS grant the necessary approvals. Which brings me to the second dam, Speaker, the Clan William Dam. That had a wall-raising project which would double the capacity of this dam to 340 million cubic metres. Honourable Speaker, if anybody from this side of the House had been the Minister of Water Affairs, we would not be in this mess.
Order, please. Order, please.
Madam Speaker, I was referring...
Order, please, members.
Madam Speaker, I was referring to the Clan William Dam wall-raising project, which would double the capacity of this dam to 340 million cubic metres by raising the dam wall 13.5 metres. This would also address growing safety concerns due to structural problems in the ageing dam wall. In addition, it would bring greater certainty of water supply and economic relief to communities and farmers in the Lower Olifants River catchment area. The dam wall raising would allow for the irrigation of about 6,000 additional hectares and increase the water available to existing farms. This is vital to the Western Cape economy, which in this region is more than 80% dependent on agriculture. The more water there is, Speaker, the more jobs there are for those who need them. Instead of expanding agriculture and agri-processing, they have regressed in the areas, the farmers we're talking about, and factories went out of business due to lack of water. This would have been averted if the dam wall raising project had started when it was scheduled to in September 2013, when the money for it was available on the national budget. However, a sorry saga then unfolded, one of many, including a 4-year hiatus during which the construction personnel waited in vain in Clanwilliam for the project to begin. I have detailed all of this and the wasteful expenditure of around 100 million rand this delay incurred in a comprehensive article. Suffice to say, there is now no money on the budget for this crucial project.
Order, please. Members. Members, honourable members. Honourable members.
Honourable members, this is, Madam Speaker, through you, may I just say this is a long speech, and the members are going to be here for longer than they would like if they keep interrupting.
So, thank you. Thank you, Premier, for alerting us. Please let us regain our composure, both sides of the House, and afford the Premier the opportunity to proceed. Honourable Davids.
There is no money on the budget.
Please
now.
manage yourself and the rest of you all. Please, honourable members. Let's get out. We are live on Channel 408. Let's show the nation that we can manage ourselves with dignity and decorum, please. Thank you. You may proceed, Premier. Thank you.
Madam Speaker. Thanks, Madam Speaker. There is now no money on the national budget for this crucial project, but we cannot allow it to be abandoned while the site officers, the machines, the equipment and personnel are still in the Clanwilliam area. There was no mention of the Clanwilliam Dam in the Finance Minister's budget speech yesterday. And we will formally engage the national government on what urgent steps they intend to take for this project to proceed, given the severe economic impact of the drought in that region. The tragedy of the Clanwilliam Dam Wall project is unfortunately not an isolated case, as we have seen. Speaker, for every high-risk municipality in the Western Cape, there is a failed, delayed, or abandoned DWS water supply project. Honourable Speaker, notwithstanding the drought, major disaster funding is also required following the devastating Southern Cape fires of June 2017. The Provincial Disaster Management Centre has applied for 194 million rand in funding from the National Disaster Management Fund to support provincial and local interventions. The Garden Route Rebuild Initiative has been launched by the Western Cape Government to coordinate all public and private efforts to rebuild the Garden Route. I'm profoundly impressed by what this initiative has achieved in bringing to life our motto, better together. The Knysna and Plettenberg Bay fires severely impacted the lives and livelihoods of various communities in what amounted to the biggest disaster management response in South Africa's history. Informal settlements throughout the province were impacted by fires as well, something which our smoke alarm project is helping to combat in various communities. There were nevertheless tragic deaths in various incidents, and we express our very profound condolences to everyone who lost a family member or a friend. In addition, more than 17,000 wildfires were recorded. 17,000 in one fire season. The fatalities would have been far higher had it not been for the firefighting professionals from all 5 district municipalities, local municipalities, the City of Cape Town, and the staff from Cape Nature, as well as Sandparks. We owe them a debt of deep gratitude. A major role is also played by the members of the fire protection associations, volunteer wildfire services, private contractor teams, and working on fire. Pilots from the South African Air Force and the private sector also contributed greatly, as did the South African National Defence Force Joint Operations Centre and the National Disaster Management Centre. We were deeply saddened, Speaker, that 3 of our brave firefighters paid the ultimate price while engaged in firefighting. I will read their names today so that the gratitude and condolences of all citizens can be recorded and conveyed to the families of Ashley Kruger from the City of Cape Town Fire and Rescue Service, Bradley Richards from Plettenberg Bay, Cedric Seokoma from the Working on Fire program. From droughts to storms to fires, Minister Bradell ably and admirably led the disaster management response. And I know he joins me today to thank the many heroes inside and outside of government and their families who gave their all to manage these disasters. And again, thank you very much to Mr. Diner. I plan to host a special event soon to thank all of these remarkable citizens for their contributions. Honourable Speaker, the drought and other natural disasters run like a thread through the province's recent economic history. But we remain a resilient economy, backed by a capable state committed to serving the interests of citizens and creating a climate for economic growth.
Honourable Jantjie.
Let me provide the Honourable Jantjie with some evidence. A total of 598,000 new jobs were added to the Western Cape since the 4th quarter of 2009, the year we took office.
Order, please, members. Premier, you may want to repeat that again.
Yes, let me repeat that. Thank you, let me repeat that. A total, Madam Speaker, let me repeat that because they seem to enjoy it so
order,
much.
members.
Madam Speaker, a total of 598,000 new jobs were added to the Western Cape since the 4th quarter of 2009, the year we took office. And clap again. And Madam Speaker,
order, please.
Madam Speaker, this is not based on our statistics. It is based on the latest quarterly labour force survey released this week by the national government. Despite the slow national economic growth, the Western Cape also recorded the country's highest year-on-year increase in jobs. That despite the disasters, adding
Honourable David, that was 3 interjections. The 4th one's going to constitute a running commentary, in my opinion. Please. You may proceed, Premier.
Madam Speaker, I don't mind interjections. I just find ignorant ones very disturbing. This year, we have lost many, many jobs in seasonal work because of the drought. Despite that, we have added 106,000 new jobs since the 4th quarter of 2016, despite the crippling drought that has decimated parts of our economy. The province has also once again recorded the lowest official unemployment rate, which now stands at 19.5%, against a national rate of 26.7%. On the broad definition, which includes discouraged job seekers, the Western Cape rate is 23%, compared to 36% nationally. Our employment rate is a
Honourable
full
Yankee,
10
speak to
percentage
me,
points.
please.
Our employment rate is a full 10 percentage points higher than Gauteng. The Speaker, to hear President Ramaphosa in his SONA highlighting our two top focus sectors as key job creators in South Africa as a whole, which shows you how targeted Project Khulisa was. Thank you, Minister Windi. The first of these is agriculture and agri-processing, for which we'd set ourselves a target of creating 100,000 jobs between 2014 and 2019. Madam Speaker, we had already exceeded that target by the fourth quarter of 2016. However, it is very unfortunate that this sector has been exposed to both the avian influenza outbreak of 2017
there's too much noise,
and
please.
is taking the brunt of the impact of the drought. Despite this, we are still growing showing a net gain of 37,370 agri-processing jobs since our Khulisa intervention started. We've also seen a net gain of over 60,000 primary agriculture jobs. What these stats demonstrate is that without Khulisa, we would only have had the negative effects of the drought without any gains from a focused economic strategy. Today in South Africa, 22.4% of all jobs in agriculture are located in the Western Cape. Despite our comparatively barren soil and low rainfall, setting an example for what can be achieved in the rest of the country with proper strategy, especially the fertile eastern seaboard. However, the full extent of the impact of the drought has not hit us yet. Water allocation reduction is having a devastating impact on farmers. Because of the nature of the agricultural sector, the full effect in terms of both employment and gross value add will be felt years after the rains return. One of the levers we introduced to achieve economic growth and employment, Speaker, was to double our wine exports to China and Angola. Wine exports to China have reached 18.2 million litres over the past 4 years. This is an astounding increase of 109%, made possible by a partnership between industry and provincial government. More than half of the Western Cape's exports are agri-related, with agriculture contributing 28% and food and beverages 24%. Key sectors in non-metro towns such as retail and manufacturing are also dependent on the growth of the agri-sectors. In many of our non-metro towns, more than 50% of all employment is agri-related. Our drought assistance has serviced more than 2,000 farmers per tranche, which has taken place every second month. This has kept many smallholders in business through livestock feed for 80,000 animals. In 2009, we were the first province to have a climate change response plan, which evolved into a plan for the agricultural sector, Smart Agri, which was adopted in 2014 by a guiding coalition of farmers, government, and industry stakeholders. New partnerships have evolved, including the Climate Resilience Project, funded by our Provincial Agricultural Department and executed by Green Cape, our special purpose vehicle for the green economy. The project helps smallholder farmers ensure greater water and energy efficiency in their operations. Commercial farmers are making their own investments, such as netting, to irrigate larger areas of crops with less water. We have also led in conservation agriculture. This method, developed at our Langgewens research farm in the Swartland, is based on 3 principles: minimal soil disturbance, crop diversity, and permanent soil cover. A full 98.8% of farmers in the region are now implementing this methodology, Speaker. During a previous drought in 2003, wheat production at our research farm amount to less than 1 tonne per hectare. In the first year of the latest drought, 2015, production went up to 2.1 tonnes per hectare. And after a very rare 3-year drought, the same farm is producing a remarkable 2.4 tonnes per hectare. This is not the only success story, Speaker, to launch the one-stop shop Western Cape. Based in the Cape Town CBD, this acts as a central advisory point for investors to complete local, provincial, and national regulatory processes. For Western Cape-based SMMEs, assistance is available through 2 funding vehicles that we directly support. The SMME Contract Finance Fund and the DDAT National Empowerment Fund Enterprise Development Fund have supported more than 280 SMMEs with loan transactions to the value of more than 15 million rand since 2014. Our investment readiness program has also secured 12 million rand in funding to rural businesses. Together with Deloitte, we hold the annual Western Cape Funding Fair, bringing funders and entrepreneurs together. More than 3,000 businesses have attended this event since its inaugural one in 2015, with the next one taking place on the 8th of May 2018 at the Cape Town International Convention Centre. In partnership with ABSA, our business skills training program has assisted more than 1,800 businesses across the province since 2014. The Township Economic Revitalisation Program with Pick n Pay is the latest corporate partnership to create jobs. The program focuses on the upgrading of spaza shops into independently owned mini supermarkets. Honourable Speaker, we are very serious about economic growth, and we are equally serious about land reform, whether urban or rural. When President Ramaphosa addressed an ANC rally in Cape Town recently, he said, and I quote, that we need to plant the seeds for a revolution in agriculture. He stated that he would order a study into returned agricultural land and what we can do with that to change things for the better.
You can learn from that.
I have good news for the President. I have good news for the President. We have already undertaken the study.
Order, please.
The good news,
Honourable Bianchi.
Madam Speaker, the
More.
good news for the citizens of the Western Cape is that the study that President Ramaphosa says the whole country needs, we've already got. The Western Cape is the only province with an audit of all land reform projects to date. The audit found
Order, please.
The audit found that our pioneering commodity approach has led to the success of 62%
Order, please,
of all
members.
land reform farms in the Western Cape. This is a remarkable success rate
There's too much
given the
noise,
many challenges
honourable
that have
members,
faced the
please.
agricultural sector. One should also compare this to the estimated 90% failure rate of land reform initiatives in the rest of the country, referred to by Mr. Matthews Posa when speaking on a national agricultural platform last year. Our approach is based on partnerships with 11 commodity organizations, which have enabled market access, mentorship, and support services for farmers since 2014. And we have facilitated over 500 million in conditional grant funding to 357 businesses operating on land reform farms. The funding is provided through the National Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program, or CASP for short. Our agribusiness entity, Casidra, directly facilitates support to farmers, for example, procuring equipment on their behalf and dropping it at their doorstep. But there are 2 obstacles I want to place before the President's door if he is serious about the statements he made about land reform. The first is national government's intent to cut the CASP grant by 20%, which is the tool we use to support emerging farmers and which accounts for the success of land reform projects in the Western Cape. In order for this to continue, this funding must be retained.
The Honourable Premier, kindly take your seat.
Can't hear a thing.
Minister Fritz, thank you.
The House.
Speaker.
Take your seat, please,
Speaker.
Minister Fritz.
We need
Your
anger
point is
management.
sustained. Honourable Olivier, were you standing? Have you taken your seat? Members, conversing aloud in terms of Rule 38 is not only disruptive, but there is someone on the floor. I have sustained the point of order. Can I request your cooperation whilst the Premier is presenting, that you manage your chitter-chatter to a level that doesn't affect and impact the proceedings of the House? May we proceed, please, honourable members? Sorry, Premier, I think we all need to manage ourselves. Every honourable member in this House. Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Magaka. Can you set the example for us, and we'll take our cue from you. Thank you. Thank you. Your point is sustained. Premier, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I was just saying that we need to retain CASP funding in order to continue the success of land reform projects. The second point that I want to raise to ensure the success of land reform projects is the issue of title to the land on which emerging farmers operate their businesses. National government's approach to land reform is called the Proactive Land Acquisition Strategy. This allows the state to purchase land on the open market and allocate it to beneficiaries. But the national government policy, known as the State Land Lease and Disposal Policy, only allows for 30-year leaseholds to be obtained by black farmers, with an option to renew for 20 years. Only after 50 years may ownership of the land be transferred to the farmer. The implication of 50-year leases is that farmers do not have fixed collateral to access production capital from financial institutions. This poses a risk to the entire business, as the farmer will have to seek government support to bridge the shortfall needed for input costs. The Western Cape government wholeheartedly supports a position that farmers be given title deeds, provided they can demonstrate the capacity to run a successful agribusiness. But 50 years is far too long, Speaker, and cuts farmers off from accessing funds through financial institutions. Most people weighing into the debate on land reform do not know that it is national government policy to withhold title from black farmers, which is a deeply regrettable situation. Many of the solutions to the risk of farm failures can be addressed through the commodity approach, which we are successfully applying to assist farmers. There should be a national switch to this approach, and the pace of successful land reform will gather, as it has done in this province. In an urban context, where the Constitution enables us to transfer title to housing beneficiaries, our success at land reform, urban land reform, is unrivaled. There is currently a 59% national backlog in the transfer of ownership to subsidised housing beneficiaries. In the Western Cape, we have brought this down to 25%, from 65% to 25%. In total, we have delivered over 82,830 title deeds to beneficiaries since 2009. Honourable Speaker, it is important for us. Good, I'll clap too.
Order, please. Honourable Davids, please, Assembly.
Honourable Speaker, it is important for us to make the distinction between ownership and rental, when we discuss the amorphous term affordable housing. This is especially important given rapid urbanization, rising demand for well-located property, and the apartheid spatial planning legacy. We will continue doing what it takes to deliver affordable housing under a difficult subsidy regime. I intend to go into some details of the challenges in this most complex of portfolios,
Order, please.
which is being ably led by Minister Bonginkosi Madikizela. It is important for the public to understand that affordable housing can mean either subsidized rental, called social housing, or affordable ownership. Ownership is applicable to two subsidies: the finance-linked individual subsidy program, called FLISP, and the institutional housing subsidy. We have to work within these subsidies determined by national government in order to get viable affordable housing projects into the official pipeline.
Premier, please kindly take your seat. Members, chirping is allowed, I hear, one and only and all sorts of stuff, but your behavior is beginning to border on, it's inappropriate, if I may ask. You are allowed to do an interjection, but this constant giggling at the back is now beginning to affect the proceedings. May I please request your cooperation? We need at least to manage ourselves with dignity and decorum. It's inappropriate to giggle and to chirp the way we're currently doing right now. I'm appealing to all members in the House. Please. Sorry, Premier, kindly take your seat, Chief Whip Wiley. Sorry, Premier, if you could take your seat, please. The Chief Whip's on his feet.
Speaker, for some reason or other, the microphones are very quiet in this chamber at the moment. I would ask that the Premier's microphones be amplified, please.
Thank you, Chief Whip. We will have the technology, but thank you very much. Honourable members, will you kindly manage yourselves, please? You may proceed, Premier. Honourable, you still have a speaker, so will you please cooperate with me? All right, thank you. Let's manage ourselves. You may proceed, Premier.
Thank you, Speaker. Subsidies have not kept pace with inflation since 2009, and income bands have not always maintained a link to the housing market or the circumstances of consumers at the lower end. In the case of well-located urban projects, we are intent on promoting social rental housing, which ensures that units in high-value properties can continue to benefit successive tenants instead of being sold off by beneficiaries, which means losing these units to the affordable market. It is also important, though, to make housing viable for people in an income bracket that makes it impossible for them to get access without assistance. The FLISP program provides a subsidy to potential beneficiaries who are able to obtain mortgage finance to cover the rest of a property's purchase price. Stringent home loan criteria, however, remain a challenge for many at the lower end of the housing market. We have been exploring different options for an affordable incremental housing unit in a densified setting that quality insurance regulators and banks can agree qualifies for mortgage finance. Significant progress has been made, and this month we will sign a memorandum with financial institutions under the auspices of the Banking Association of South Africa. We have also partnered with the Human Sciences Research Council on reforming the institutional housing subsidy. Currently, less than 5% of projects in the affordable housing pipeline are linked to this subsidy. We believe this instrument can help turn subsidized rental housing into a step towards home ownership. The research project will be completed next month. Our hope with this transformative research is to catalyze affordable housing opportunities for a greater number of people. At the start of this term of office, Speaker, we identified as a top priority for this administration the expansion of housing opportunities in well-located affordable units and social rental stock. We designate, I know, and so am I. Madam Speaker.
Order, please.
This
yes, Premier.
May I just enlighten the honourable member that both the city and the province are absolutely dedicated to the same end. We designated it a game changer, in fact, through the Better Living Model concept for the old Conradi Hospital site in Pinelands, Thornton. The intention was to pioneer a method of transforming apartheid's spatial legacy while ensuring viable, affordable housing, cross-subsidized by the state, and market-based property sales. Increasingly, access to housing and transforming apartheid's spatial legacy is a top priority for this government. To make cross-subsidisation work, large-scale property is required, which is one of the main variables the Conradie site fulfilled. The development of the 22-hectare site in an inner-city feeder suburb is set to provide 3,600 residential units, of which 800 units will be subsidised units and the remainder for the open market. The total construction cost will come to 3.4 billion rand, which includes a mix of private sector finance and subsidies. This is the third SOPA in which I have spoken about this project. And if you go to the site, you still see an undeveloped piece of land. That does not mean that nothing is happening. On the contrary, it has taken a dedicated team working flat out to get us to the point where we are on target to break ground this year. The intervening time has been absorbed in going through all the necessary legal hoops to secure the necessary development rights for the property. Besides well-located affordable housing, the development will catalyse the upgrade of the surrounding roads, infrastructure and public transport, and bring new social services to the neighbouring communities. A request for proposals document will be released by the end of March 2018. We look forward to bidders submitting their proposals on this exciting project. Another flagship housing project is the Bellhouse CBD, where we aim to create an urban context around nearby tertiary education facilities, the University of the Western Cape, Cape Peninsula University of Technology and Northlink College. The total development value is 1.8 billion rand in partnership with the private sector. The provincial government is contributing 750 million rand, 400 million for bulk infrastructure and 350 million towards housing subsidies. A total of 4,188 units will be constructed over 3 phases, to be completed in 2022. This includes 850 social housing units, over 560 student units with over 2,000 beds, 1,000 FLISP bonded units for people earning up to 15,000 rand a month, 600 sectional title subsidised units, and over 100 units for military veterans. The development has catalysed bulk infrastructure in the Belhar area, including roads, electrification, sewer and water distribution networks. Honourable Speaker, the Western Cape Cabinet has resolved to transfer the Woodstock Hospital property to the City of Cape Town on condition that it is used for social housing. Cabinet further resolved that the transfer should occur at just 10% of a market valuation of the property, that is 5.1 million rand. This will go down as a landmark transaction should the City agree to a further condition that Cabinet attached to the Woodstock Hospital site, that all future property transactions between the province and the City be affected at 10% of market value if the land in question is to be used for social infrastructure. Which brings me to the Helen Nurses' Home. Honourable Speaker, it is located in some of the City's most valuable real estate. In line with Cabinet's commitment, we intend to build a minimum of 302 social housing units on that site. The province this week submitted our responses to the City and relevant stakeholders in respect of the rezoning and consolidation approval required for us to proceed. Adjacent to this former nurses' home, there are 3 further portions of land that make up what is known as the Somerset Precinct. We intend to optimise social housing on each of the 3 remaining sites, following a viable mixed-use, mixed-income development model. Ironically, the illegal occupation of the Helen Bowden premises will result in the delay of that social housing development unless the matter is resolved and the site vacated. But, Honourable Speaker, let me turn for a moment to a topic that remains underexplored in the public discourse. In the Cape Metro, there are 5 very well-located mega properties that, according to our rough estimates, could yield over 100,000 affordable housing units in mixed-use development. These sites are far larger than any we currently have available for affordable housing developments and would be transformative if national government released them for this type of development. The sites are Culemborg in the inner city across from the harbour, Easterplaat, the sprawling military property adjacent to Century City, Youngsfield, a military property ideally nestled in the southern suburb of Kenilworth, and Wingfield, located along the key transit artery of the Voortrekker Road corridor. Another one is Denell, a military property ideally situated along the coast linking Khayelitsha to Strand. Our plea to the national government is, release these game-changing properties with the requisite funding, and we will apply the better living model on a scale as yet unwitnessed in South Africa. It will transform access to affordable housing and transform the legacy of our apartheid urban form. Honourable Speaker, while initiatives in the Metro continue, our planning to accelerate affordable housing outside of Cape Town is gaining momentum. Social housing restructuring zones
Too much
have been
noise,
gazetted
please,
11
members.
times, which enable state subsidies to be used for these projects. In these localities, this qualitative process has led to 53 such projects being included in the pipeline, totaling over 11,000 units. We are supporting the Drakensberg municipality to break ground on the first non-metro project within the new financial year at Dal Yusufat in Paarl. We have also partnered with Social Housing Regulatory Authority to analyse property management systems in various towns to ensure that social rental can be efficiently managed by municipalities with reduced risk to their balance sheet. Honourable Speaker, we are forging ahead with a set of catalytic housing projects aimed at the poorest residents that will transform the urban landscape for the better. A total of 105,201 housing opportunities are in the pipeline for completion by 2022. We are making progress on the Southern Corridor development to upgrade informal settlements along the N2. In Forest Village, 9 contractors have been appointed and are progressing well for the delivery of over 900 units and 2,400 service sites in the 2017-18 financial year. The project will have huge transformative potential for informal settlements, including Barcelona, Kaka, Vukuzenzela, Kanana, Kosovo, Thabo Mbeki, Tsunami, Lusaka, and Europe, all of which are in either Guguletu, Nyanga, and the Philippi areas. In the George area, 15,000 units are planned and at different stages of development. Planning is also well underway on the Transhex development in the Breda Valley, which will yield 8,000 housing opportunities. Besides our major catalytic projects, we have also allocated funding for 60 informal settlements to be upgraded across 14 municipalities. Honourable Speaker, in pursuit of a connected, high-opportunity society for all, we have launched one of our biggest flagship infrastructure projects of our final term, namely the broadband game changer.
Honourable Danke.
Our vision, when launching this project in 2014, was to roll out broadband coverage to an unprecedented footprint of sites across the province, both urban and rural. Speaker, we have reached our target of full broadband coverage with a total of 1,875 sites, including over 1,200 schools, over 200 libraries, and approximately 400 other public facilities. We are now leveraging our extensive broadband network to connect the central office of each district and local municipality to high-speed broadband. We have also launched 178 Wi-Fi hotspots across the province, benefiting over 250,000 citizens. Originally, in a previous SOPA, I committed this government to providing a hotspot in every ward, which would have numbered a total of 384. We are now in a position, Speaker, to improve on that significantly. We are in the process of converting as many as possible of the province's broadband points into free Wi-Fi sites. This will make approximately 1,600 free Wi-Fi sites available across the province at speeds of 10 megabytes per second. This rollout will follow the process of upgrading our 1,875 sites to 100 megs per second and some to 1 gigabyte over the next 2 years. The hotspots will each allow for 512.
Order, please. Order. Honourable
Speaker,
members.
the hotspots.
Sorry. Order, please.
Madam Speaker, the hotspots will each allow for 512
Premier,
concurrent
kindly
users.
take your seat, please. I'm sorry. Honourable Olivier, Honourable Fritz, everyone else that's involved in this cross-bench conversation, can I please appeal to you? The Premier is on the floor. She is presenting. I cannot allow you to continue and engage in your own one-on-one conversations. It is inappropriate in terms of Rule 38. We have a speaker on the floor. I request your cooperation from both sides of the House, please. You may proceed, Honourable Premier. Honourable Olivier, bedaar asseblief. Wie's meer kwaad nou? Thank you, Honourable Olivier. That's not a point of order.
I'm worried about his health.
Thank you. I think I would like to recommend that after the sitting, you engage the Minister. Not now. Thank you. Minister Fritz, will you comply? Just smile. Please just smile. Thank you. Okay, so kan julle nou bedaar asseblief? Honourable Premier, you may proceed. Thank you.
The hotspots will each allow for 512 concurrent users to have 500 megs of free data per month. And after that, they can access the cheapest data bundle costs in the country, up to 5 gigabytes for 45 Rand. My challenge today to all major mobile operators is to try and match the data rates we are providing to the citizens of the Western Cape. Libraries, Madam Speaker, remain a key way in which citizens across the province can access information. Our 371 library centres account for more than 20% of all public libraries in the country. For every year in office, we have built or started an average of 4.5 new libraries. We currently have 222 rural libraries with 1,076 computer workstations with free internet access to the public. Minister Anru has been at the forefront of expanding libraries to all corners of the province. Speaker, while I'm on the topic of libraries, the written word and digital connectivity, I want to acknowledge our oral history program. Much of our history is passed down in stories from generation to generation through our oral tradition. This forms...
Honourable Janki, you have an opportunity tomorrow.
Madam Speaker, thank goodness some things were already written down as well. This forms the local heritage of a community. We can now use modern technology to capture and store this precious heritage. Bringing together library, museums, and archive services, we are documenting our oral tradition on video. So far, we have travelled to small towns to conduct over 200 interviews in 11 municipalities, from Maatjiesfontein to Gouda, Goedverwacht, Vredendal, Ladysmith, and Mount Pleasant. Soon we're coming to the villages of Cape Agulhas, Wuppertal, and the Worcester area. And while we're capturing local stories, we are also connecting people to the farthest corners of the earth. The public can also access free internet in 70 Cape Access Centres, the majority of which have been built in some of the most rural towns and villages of this province. We are averaging close to 55,000 user sessions per month in these centres. And just this week in Veldrif, we launched the province's 8th Youth Cafe, where young people can access the internet, career guidance, and opportunities. We recognise that reliable internet connection is also essential if we want to create the foundations for an effective learning environment in our schools and prepare learners for life in the 21st century. That is why we have put major resources behind our e-learning game changer, which is one of the 3 focused on providing opportunities for young people to succeed in life. The other 2 are our after schools and apprenticeship game changers.
Honourable Makaleni.
The e-learning game changer aims to enhance the teaching and learning experience in the Western Cape schools, predominantly in maths and language, through the use of technology. By the end of this term of Office Speaker, 350 schools will have a full local area network connecting every instruction room to the internet. And by the end of March, almost 900 schools will have connectivity coverage at selected points in the school. We will also have installed over 6,400 smart classrooms and upgraded technology in 910 ICT labs at schools. This is an increase of just over 2,400 smart classrooms and 705 laboratories over the past 2 years. We have also delivered 28,808 learner devices. In September 2015, we launched our e-portal for learners, teachers, parents, school governing bodies, members of school administrators, and for service to all of those constituencies. The portal now has over 11,600 digital resources, all curriculum relevant, and there have been over 310,000 unique users to date. We were encouraged by the dramatic increase in visits to the portal during the 2017 exam period, and we encourage school communities to make use of this powerful platform. The training of school leadership and teachers in digital technology continues at an accelerated pace. Just under 2,000 teachers participated in ICT development programs last year. We are encouraged to see the commitment of so many teachers who attend training after school hours, over weekends, and during school holidays, and who are embracing the use of technology in their classrooms. The numbers of learners attending no-fee schools has also increased by 58% in the last 5 years to almost 580,000 learners. We ensure that over 473,300 learners receive not one, but 2 nutritious meals a day through our feeding schemes. About 60,000 learners benefit from our transport schemes, and over 13,000 learners also receive hostel subsidies with 3 full meals a day. All our districts are retaining matric pass rates at over 80%.
Order.
And we are establishing ourselves as the leading province in maths and science results. When we took office in 2009, the matric pass rate in quintile 1 schools, which are the poorest of all our schools, was just 57.5%. Last year, the pass rate in our poorest schools was up to 73.8%. This is a pass rate rises of This amounts to pass rate rises of 12.9 percentage points in quintile 2 and 14.8 percentage points in quintile 3 schools. The proportion of bachelor passes in quintiles 1 to 3 has more than doubled.
Sorry, Honourable Makaleni, that's your 4th chirp now. I've actually just been listening to you. Please, if you don't manage yourself, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Please, you may proceed, Premier. Write the chirps down, and tomorrow in the debate, we talk about them.
The improvement in bachelor pass rates is most significant in quintile 1, where the proportion of bachelor's passes went from 8.7% to 22.3%. This means that almost 1/4 of our learners in these very poor schools are earning a quality bachelor's pass. I want to thank Minister Debbie Schaefer for her dedicated leadership in continuing this trajectory.
Order, please, members.
Honourable Speaker, at the start of this term, we recognise that safe, connected spaces for young people, especially in the afternoons, are a vital gateway to opportunity. Studying, learning and positive social activity after school hours keeps young people away from the many social problems in our communities. That is why we have prioritised the expansion of quality after-school programming as a game changer across the province. The number of learners engaged in regular and consistent after-school programming has increased to over 72,000, a 264% increase since 2014. By 2019, we aim to increase this to 112,000 learners. There are currently after-school programs at 360 low and no-fee schools across the province,
take your
a
seat,
191% increase over the past 4 years.
If you could take your seat. Chief Whip Ace, if I could ask you to please manage your members. Despite my requests, they still, Honourable Makaleni and Chacham are now constantly engaging, and I see members on the other side, but I'm appealing to you to ask them to manage themselves. Thank you. I'm really sorry, Honourable Ace, I cannot talk to the content of the speech. I'm here to maintain order, please. Thank you. Honourable Chacham. Thank you. Take your seat, please, Premier.
Speaker, this is now taking on the same semblance as the 2014 SOPA, where this constant running commentary, which is planned to dislocate the Premier from doing what she's entitled to do. I really must ask.
Order, please,
Speaker,
member.
what's the point of
Gillian,
order?
the Chief Whip's on the floor. Your point of
You
order,
didn't
Chief
even
Whip.
record.
I've already referred to.
Order, please.
Speaker, I've already referred to Rule
38.
39, which says that a member on the floor, that is also me, may not be interrupted. Rule 41 says that order must be maintained by the presiding officer. And I must seriously ask on this side of the House here that this order must be maintained. The province is entitled to hear this address. The contributions from the other side are meaningless and baseless.
Thank you, Chief
And they
Whip.
have plenty of opportunity tomorrow to articulate their concerns.
Thank you, Chief Whip.
Tomorrow, for the information of the members in the gallery and the public, there is a 3-hour debate of which.
Thank you, Chief Whip.
Of which the members on the other side there will have 80 minutes to debate.
Okay. So, members, the Chief Whip has raised point 38, point 41. We need to afford the Premier the opportunity to present. As I alluded to in my opening, tomorrow there is a 3-hour debate scheduled for responses. Let's display some dignity, respect, and get through the business of the day without any howling. And I am appealing to both sides of the House. A little bit of respect will go a far way, please, honourable members. Member Schaefer, the members in the corner, if you could please all cooperate. Honourable Wenger, Honourable Maseko, Honourable Schaefer, I am addressing the House at large. I am requesting your cooperation of all honourable members, please. Thank you. You may proceed, Premier.
Madam Speaker, before I continue, I just would like to place on record that this is called the State of the Province Address for a reason. It is not a speech looking forward. It is a speech looking at what we have done and what we have achieved so far in our term. And that is absolutely critical to understand. It is a speech full of statistics and full of measurements against our targets. And that is precisely what we need to have in a State of the Province speech. It can't be full of vague waffle and generalizations. Okay. There are currently after-school programs in 360 low and no-fee schools across the province, a 191% increase over the past 4 years. This expansion would not be possible without strong partnerships which are formed between schools, government departments, NGOs and communities. The provision of quality programs remains a top priority, and we are leading the way in developing after-schools programming as a viable career path. In this regard, coordinated training programs are in place with over 250 coaches in training towards an NQF Level 6 qualification in partnership with Stellenbosch University, Rutgers University and the Community Chest. We are also pioneering the launch of a master's and doctoral program with Rutgers University in after-school programming. Our after-school programs target learners in our poorest communities where crime and violence are prevalent. Honourable Speaker, our third youth-focused game changer is expanding apprenticeships across the province. At the start of this term, we recognised that creating skills pathways out of poverty for young people is of the utmost importance. Currently, there are thousands of learners dropping out of school or matriculating who have no study or job prospects. We believe that apprenticeships can offer young people the key first step onto the career ladder. We have worked with employers to identify the technical and vocational jobs most needed in our 5 priority sectors in the province and are now focusing on ensuring there are sufficiently skilled young people to meet this demand. Our target is to have 11,300 qualified apprentices enter the labour market by 2019. Key to the success of this game changer is first ensuring that learners leave schools with the qualifications that employers want. Most important is a 50% or higher matric maths result. We are therefore escalating maths support to learners in our technical high schools and maths, science and technology schools. Second, changing attitudes towards technical and vocational careers. Learners and parents need to see these as attractive opportunities as they are seen in the world's best and fastest growing economies like Germany, India and Vietnam. And third, encouraging employers to commit to a learn and earn model of training and increasing the number of young people in formal apprentices and training institutes linked to the workplace.
You never talk about ownership of that. That's your fundamental problem. Not commit to transformation.
Honourable Dagmar, you could pose a question through the chair. Thank you. You may proceed, Premier.
Madam Speaker, may I just pause to address the inane interjection of the Honourable Dugmore. The Honourable Dugmore says that we don't look at ownership-only apprenticeships. The ANC...
Order, please.
The ANC shows us exactly what the ownership model leads to. It leads to the Gupta-aligned network owning everything with 9 million people unemployed. With 9 million people unemployed.
Order. Order.
That is the ANC's ownership network. The ANC's ownership model is ownership by the politically connected elite and unemployment for everybody else. We want employment for everyone and we want transformed economy in which everybody has an opportunity.
Order, please,
we have
members.
with our red tape reduction unit to make it easier for employers to take on apprentices. As a special intervention, we have worked closely with municipalities and businesses in the Eden district to turn last year's devastating fires into an opportunity for skills development through programs to train people for the skills needed in the rebuild program. We have also run an extensive internship program with provincial government since 2012. The Premier's Advancement of Youth Project, or PAY, offers deserving matriculants the opportunity of work experience in the public sector, contactable references for their CV, and a set of skills to render them marketable and employable. Close to 4,300 internship opportunities have been created since PAY's inception. This includes 700 opportunities this year, which the province is funding to the value of 31 million rand. Our top priority is expanding opportunity for the youth of this province, to whom I have dedicated the remainder of my term in office. Madam Speaker, the Zuma years have taken a terrible toll on our budgets. Policy uncertainty and corruption have hurt South Africa's image, deterred investors, and severely dented the fiscus. As has profligacy in state-owned enterprises, wasteful expenditure, the unmandated wage agreement of 2015, and instability in higher education, which have all seriously eroded budgets for the core business of government. And cater deployment has further weakened the state's capacity to use the remaining budgets optimally and efficiently. This is a reason that the first duty of the state is to ensure that the safety of citizens is paramount. And in the absence of security, it is hard to deliver on any other mandate, as we have learnt. Under our Constitution, the criminal justice pipeline, from policing to prosecution and imprisonment, are all functions of national government. The failure to fulfil this mandate has had a dreadful impact on our province, and we have had to devote significant proportions of service delivery budgets to a security function which is not our mandate. This is the difficult context in which we have sought to protect our frontline services of education, healthcare, social services and housing, amongst others. To cope with the growing demand, we have stretched infrastructure budgets to their very limits. We have built on average 14 schools and 265 new classrooms for every year in office since 2009. This amounts to 131 schools and close to 2,400 classrooms. Over 130,000 learners have relocated to the Western Cape since 2014. As a result, learner-teacher ratios are rising, often worryingly so. The escalating running costs of our education system amount to 1.1 billion rand over the last 4 years, and this excludes the additional school infrastructure required to meet demand. National Treasury has not provided the funds required for this substantial upward adjustment. There has been a concomitant growth in public healthcare demand. We have spent over 5.6 billion rand on capital infrastructure since 2009, 3.8 billion on new and replacement infrastructure, and 1.8 billion on maintenance. Over the last year, we have built the province's greenest clinic in Beaufort West, replaced clinics in Napier and Prince Alfred Hamlet, added new ward and CT scan capacity at Khayelitsha Hospital, continued the 55 million rand renovation of Knysna Hospital, expanded emergency centres in Tygerberg and Stellenbosch hospitals, and officially opened the new 104 million District 6 Community Daycare Centre. Minister Mbombo has taken an activist stance to increasing access to healthcare, and it is remarkable how, under immense pressure, our healthcare system continues to expand its reach in innovative ways. Thank you, Minister Mbombo. To ensure rural access to healthcare, our HealthNet patient transport system operates around 230 pickup points across the province. Every year, over 150,000 patients are transported to healthcare facilities through this 90 million rand service. In the past, patients paid large amounts of money to reach these facilities across the province. This is income they can now use for their household purposes. In the Cape Metro, the Provincial Health Department operates around 1,200 points for patients to collect chronic medication, known as chronic dispensing units. Approximately 18 million chronic medicine parcels have been dispensed across the entire Western Cape to date, so that patients can easily and conveniently collect them. We also operate one of the busiest ambulance services in South Africa, transporting between 45,000 and 50,000 patients each month. Technology is helping to coordinate our emergency medical services with all of our other facilities. We have partnered with global IT group Dimension Data to link personnel in 6 emergency control centres, 52 ambulance stations, and crew in 519 vehicles. Our EMS system happens in real time. Data relating to incidents, GPS, and response logistics need to be coordinated by our teams with speed. This is especially important for the safety of our dedicated EMS personnel, who are saving lives day and night in the red zones of our city, where criminals have targeted these committed professionals. Coordination with law enforcement, vehicle tracking, and capturing patient data are a priority for us. Although attacks cannot be directly prevented, our response to them is greatly improved as a result of both technology and coordination with law enforcement. We are heartened by the tough sentence of a combined 36 years for perpetrators of an attack in Manenberg, and will support the police in every possible way to ensure that attacks on our personnel result in convictions. Honourable Speaker, technology has become a bedrock of the public healthcare system through our e-vision for healthcare. At the heart of this approach is digital patient data. With patients relocating from one town to another for employment purposes, especially those working on farms in the harvest season, their data can be easily accessed in any facility across the province. Whether you visit a clinic or a hospital, your folder number remains the same and your health record follows you wherever you go. This is made possible by integrating all radiology, pharmacy, laboratory and patient administration data, a first for the public healthcare system. The tradition of surgical firsts also continued at our flagship facilities over the last year. Pritzker Hospital celebrated the 50th anniversary of the world's first heart transplant by successfully treating a brain tumour through the patient's eye socket, another world first. Red Cross Children's Hospital was certified as a Duchenne Care Centre for muscular dystrophy, the first certification of its kind outside of the United States. Honourable Speaker, we have also kept expanding the reach of our various social services despite the difficult fiscal environment. The number of persons with disabilities who are accessing developmental social welfare services has increased from almost 60,000 in 2014 to close on 100,000 in 2017. This expansion would not have been possible were it not for the innovation of our Social Development Department under the passionate leadership of Minister Albert Fritz. Referral pathways have been strengthened, as has the relationship between disability services, schools and daycare centres. Our child protection services have also had to find ways to adapt to growing demand, given the many social problems in our communities. Nationally, there is a backlog of 43,985 children whose foster care orders must be reviewed and, if necessary, renewed. This is an untenable situation for our most vulnerable citizens. In contrast, there were only 44 cases that required renewing in the Western Cape as at December 2017. This has been achieved through prioritisation of the foster care system in terms of budgets, personnel and governance mechanisms, and strong coordination under a dedicated manager and foster care management plan. There are close to 30,000 children in foster care in this province, which is indicative of the many social problems in our communities. It has also been tragic to witness just how many child abuse and murder cases involve a perpetrator who is known or trusted by the victim or their families. We have asked the Western Cape universities to help us review all available research and data on child murder cases and assist with recommendations that all stakeholders can take forward to address this terrible scourge. So much of the interpersonal violence in our society takes place in the intimacy of the home environment, outside of the reach of police. However, we do reach over 22,000 families each year through a range of services including counselling, medication, therapy, parenting skills training, marriage and fatherhood programs. The family is the basic unit of society, Speaker, and breakdowns in this environment give rise to many negative consequences, including children being drawn into detrimental social influences and crime. Our child and youth care centres are the first in the country to have full registration in terms of the Child Justice Act. Substance abuse treatment programs are run in all government-managed youth care centres and in 10 high-risk schools. Overall, we have tripled the number of treatment centres for substance abuse, reaching 35,500 clients in the last 3 years. The drug problem in many Western Cape communities remains a source of grave concern to us, and a whole-of-society response is required from government, police and civil society. Parents have a specific responsibility in this regard. No government can compensate for absent or poor parenting. Honourable Speaker, if we want to break the cycle of poverty and violence in our province, we also need to tackle the alcohol abuse problem head-on. Reducing alcohol abuse-related harms has been prioritised as a game changer by our government. We are focusing on 3 key levers: reducing access to alcohol by improving enforcement of liquor trading laws and promoting a legalised trading environment with fewer illegal outlets. We are working closely with the City of Cape Town to test a new licensing approach aimed at improving the rule of law in selected areas. We are also strengthening law enforcement in and around alcohol outlets to increase safety. Secondly, we are introducing alternative recreational activities that will divert high-risk users from abusing alcohol and, if possible, offer business opportunities to entrepreneurs. And thirdly, we're improving alcohol-related social and health services to communities. Interventions under these levers are focused on 3 targeted areas: Khayelitsha, Town 2, Gunya and Paarl East, where we are working in close cooperation with community organisations. There has been good progress with a range of partners that would take too long to enumerate here, except to thank them all. When it comes to increasing safety, 8 high-mast security cameras linked to the City of Cape Town's control operating beyond their licence condition, a major boost from the introduction of random breathalyzer testing. After just 4 months of operation, suspected alcohol-related motorist fatalities in the province declined by 14.4% compared to 2016 figures, and 23.8% since 2015. I must commend Provincial Traffic Services and our Transport and Public Works Department under the leadership of Minister Drought for this progress, which includes the reintroduction of evidentiary breath alcohol testing commonly known as the Draeger device. Honourable Speaker, our safety partnerships are growing across the province, coordinated by our Community Safety Department and led from the front by Minister Dan Plato. We have accredited 165 neighbourhood watches since the Community Safety Act came into effect in October 2016. Resources and training are steadily being rolled out to these organisations. We also facilitate grants for community policing forums that present viable safety project proposals. The Walking Bus Project, a volunteer effort to accompany learners on their journeys to and from school, has now taken root in 197 schools, with 68 communities participating in this project. May this initiative continue to spread as communities play their part in the safety of our learners. Our long-standing partnerships with the religious sector, known as the Youth Safety Religion Partnership, held programs in 36 communities during the most recent school holidays, involving over 9,000 young people in positive social activity. We have also continued to push the boundaries of policing oversight within our constitutional mandate. Each year we conduct extensive oversight over resourcing at police stations and engagements with communities on their safety priorities. Since 2014, our Court Watching Brief program has monitored over 3,100 cases that would otherwise have fallen out of the broken criminal justice pipeline in the cracks between police, prosecutors and the courts. The legacy of the Khayelitsha Commission of Inquiry into Police Inefficiency, still the first of its kind in South Africa, has seen its recommendations advanced by various task teams with the support of our department, civil society groups, national departments and the Provincial SAPS under the able leadership of Lieutenant General Kombinkosi Jula. The Office of the Western Cape Police Ombudsman is another unique initiative introduced by provincial legislation and led by Advocate Vusi Pikoli. An important investigation currently underway is the impact of declining police reservist numbers in the province. The number of reservists in the Western Cape has declined dramatically from 4,400 in 2009 to just 660 in active service in 2017. Reservists must be urgently recruited, trained and appointed to support the visible policing capacity of the SAPS. Due to changes in national policy beyond our control, no reservists were recruited or trained in 2016 or 2017. We are working hard behind the scenes for this policy stricture to be relaxed so that we can recruit reservists again. A source of constant frustration during our time in office has been the lack of a direct operational mandate over policing. South Africa's provinces are amongst the few elected regional governments in the world without this direct mandate. We feel this most acutely in the lack of responsiveness by national government to properly resource the police. The National Ministry of Police plans to cut the Western Cape's police force by 3,000 officers over the next 2 years, at a time when SAPS are severely under-resourced. This is nothing short of disastrous. Most crimes in the Cape Metro is concentrated in just 7% of all our precincts. The same communities where police to population ratios are far higher than the national average. We have pointed this out year after year, that there is such a high population to police ratio, and we have requested that it be addressed in our formal policing needs and priority submissions, to no avail. Current statistics show that the national average police to population ratio is 1 officer to 328 people, while the ratio in Khayelitsha is 1 to 556. In the neighbouring Harare, it is 1 to 878, and in Yanga, 1 to 777, and in Mitchell's Plain, it is 1 to 427. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the allocation of police in terms of a ratio of population is the national government's job. And we have complained about this allocation time and again. And we want it to be improved.
Order.
Gangsterism and related drug and gun peddling in particular require a concerted, well-resourced response from law enforcement authorities. Last year, the Western Cape Cabinet resolved that the Army should be brought in as a short-term emergency measure to support policing in gang hotspots. This is entirely justified, as gangs have in some areas effectively usurped the authority of the state and the conventional law enforcement agencies. Despite promises from Police Minister Fikile Mbalula, this has not materialized, nor is the specialized gang and drug units promised by former President Jacob Zuma as far back as 2016. Minister Mbalula recently offered the astounding excuse that the SANDF would not be deployed in the short term because the SAPS are in fact on top of the gang crisis. I wrote to Minister Mbalula on the 8th of February requesting him to substantiate the statement that gangsterism has been neutralized, as this is at odds with the views of communities and our own experience. I have not had a reply from the Honourable Minister. Honourable Speaker, let me turn to Manenberg. We are working with the community Steercom on an ambitious program to bring a regional hospital and schools upgrade to the area, including a school of skills. The City of Cape Town is also investing in various upgrades to public infrastructure in the community, including lighting, roads and parks. Our Department of Health's planning indicates that a regional hospital, a necessity for future healthcare demand, will require 7 hectares of land, as it will comprise 550 beds, much larger than each of our recently built hospitals in Mitchell's Plain and Khayelitsha. As there is limited available land in Manenberg, we have been engaged in constructive and robust discussions with the community Steercom and local education structures on how best to effect the overall upgrade. Various proposals have been discussed and our discussions are very close to conclusion, subject to final budgetary allocations. Once we have reported back to the community Steercom, further details will be announced. The long-term vision for the Manenberg upgrade is the construction of a youth lifestyle campus in Manenberg, a network of education and after-school facilities linked by safe promenades and upgraded lighting and infrastructure. The entire ethos of the upgrade is based on the violence prevention through urban upgrading methodology, which has been embedded in many path-breaking projects. We are now expanding this to small towns through our regional socio-economic program. The province has committed 165 million rand for the RCEP program over a 4-year period. In addition, a grant of 70 million rand has been received for the VPUU program from the German Development Bank for spending over the same period, and we are very, very grateful to the German Development Bank for the enormous amount of funding they have put into this path-breaking project. To highlight just some of the progress to date, RCEP has undertaken 2 major recreational parks in the West Bank and Ilingiletu communities of Malmesbury, upgrades to community and informal trading facilities in Vredenburg, and planning for the Zwelithemba commercial corridor in Worcester. This year, the RCEP program is being rolled out to an additional 7 municipalities, and 30 new projects have been approved in consultation with communities and local governments in Touwsrivier, Mossel Bay, and Berg River. Honourable Speaker, rail services in Cape Town are in crisis, and the situation is growing more serious with each passing week. Although the central line that travels through our poorest communities started operating again this week after long downtime due to criminality, we have to face the fact that the total collapse of the rail service is a real possibility. This is another crucial public service under the competence of national government, which has failed this province spectacularly. Almost 700,000 passengers, or 48% of all commuter traffic, make use of rail across this province. Unreliable services for an increasing number of passengers impacts heavily on the city's economy. In just 2 years, over 100 train coaches were lost to fire, usually arson. There is substantial evidence of coordinated economic sabotage, with a full picture yet to be uncovered by investigating authorities. We welcome some of the emergency steps agreed to during a summit with the city, provincial government, PRASA and other stakeholders 2 weeks ago. These include fire and bullet-resistant walls to seal off a 15-kilometre stretch of the central line, a 100-strong dedicated rail security unit, drones to monitor criminal activity, as well as the effective training and deployment of 1,500 PRASA security staff across the network. The cost, excluding the construction of the wall, will exceed 50 million rand for just 1 year. There could be no stronger case for army patrols than the need to defend and protect the transport infrastructure on which hundreds of thousands of commuters depend daily and which is beyond the state's normal capacity to protect. White-collar crime also severely impacts the system, one of the most obscene examples being the Gupta network, that reportedly benefited from over 5 billion rand in kickbacks on train contracts for locomotives that do not fit the tracks. Traffic congestion in Cape Town is directly linked to a dysfunctional rail system, driven by grand corruption and incompetence in another failed state-owned enterprise. We strongly support a greater role for provincial and local government, as well as the private sector, in improving and managing the commuter rail service. We are preparing legislation aimed at enabling provincial government to better exercise its role in public transport, including rail, in an effort to ensure that services improve to the required standard. It is instructive to look at what is possible by comparing the chaos of metro rail with the public transport services that fall within the province's mandate. We have pioneered South Africa's first non-metro conventional bus system designed as an integrated public transport network. Go George has grown from 47,000 monthly passenger trips in the first year of operation to 381,000 monthly trips as of December 2017. And it is well worth congratulating all involved. As for our roads, a full 95% of kilometres travelled by our road users are on roads with a fair to very good grade condition, based on a comprehensive survey. In total, we've spent over 11 billion rand on road infrastructure since 2014, half on maintaining the good network we have, and half on construction. We are keeping our communities connected and economically active through this crucial work. And you'll be relieved to hear the start of the next paragraph. Let me conclude today by thanking Western Cape residents for partnering with us for 9 years of building the open opportunity society for all. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I think that on...
Order. Order. Premier, you may continue.
Thank you very much. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I must just pause to suggest that there is some capacity building on the side of the Honourable the Opposition. We offer the vision and the plan at the start of a term of office. We are entering the final year of our term of office, and we are reporting progress on the plan we announced at the beginning of our term. What part of that does the Honourable the Opposition not understand?
Order. Honourable Janki. Is that a point of order, or do you want to ask a question?
Deputy Speaker, it's exactly 2 hours. I wanted her to take water. I think she has taken water now.
Honourable Janki, please come to the point.
The point is, I'm worried about the DA seats that are getting empty.
Honourable Janki, don't...
Whilst the Premier is speaking.
Honourable Janki, don't waste the House's time here with frivolous points of order. Premier, you may continue. Order. Premier, you may continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. This speech was timed to be 1.5 hours. This speech was timed to be 1.5 hours, and it became 2 hours because of the interjections and interruptions of the Honourable the Opposition. Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Order. Order. I want the Premier to conclude now, and the House on the opposition side to contain themselves, please. Premier, you may continue.
Deputy Speaker, we will never take the voters' mandate for granted. When the stories of this extraordinary time in our nation's history are told, let it be said that we did not fail to fulfill our responsibilities, and that we were indeed better together. I thank you.
Order. Order. In terms of Rule Order. In terms of Rule 15 of the Standing Rules, the Premier's address will be placed on the order paper for debate. Members and guests are requested to remain standing in their places while the procession leaves the chamber. You are also, order, I'm not finished yet, order. You're also invited to some light refreshment in the members' lounge on this floor after the adjournment of the House. And as the Speaker indicated earlier, the debate on the Premier's State of the Province address will commence tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. That concludes the business for the day. The House is adjourned.